good. How are you guys?
So good. Okay, so everybody make sure you guys are muted. You guys, Denise and I were able to spend some time on at Surf and Turf, and it was like the best time ever. And I was like, I want to spend some time with her. And it was just amazing, the mindset and the simplicity that you guys keep it, and your brains are just like explosive with that, and I love it so much. And so I asked her if she could get on today, and she was so willing to. So Denise, can you just kind of share your story first for us?
Absolutely. How is everybody doing tonight? We rallying for volume? Yes, that's what we're doing. Yes, host to posting and getting orders in. So my name is Denise Walsh. I am Black Diamond. I was 26 years old when I first got started, and back then I was a clinical psychologist. So I got into the field of psychology because I wanted to work with and help people, and I thought psychology would be the best way to do that. So I got my master's from Wheaton, which is right outside Chicago, got my first job at a community mental health, and was quickly bored, burnout, tired, like out of my mind. Basically, I was working with people that didn't really want help in a situation that couldn't really help them, like the government, the system, like it's not all, you know what I mean? So anyway, it was a generational, I would see clients on the jail floor, like I'd go visit them in jail, and then 3 weeks later they'd be back. And it was just a tough space to be, especially coming out of school, like with aspirations of changing the world. You know what I mean? Like I was like all excited about doing psychology, and I was excited to change the world, and I was excited to bless people and help them be all that they're created to be. And then I was not having it. So I went through what they call a quarter life crisis. My husband was an aerospace engineer. He worked at GE Aerospace, which sounds cool, but he basically lived in cubicle world and hung out with cranky old men. So he was not enjoying his life either. And so I went to school for 6 years. He went to college for 4 years. You know what I mean? You are working so hard to finally get your first job. And we quickly realized that we didn't want to be there for the next 30 years. We just didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't know what else to do because that's what we were told. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was an accountant, and he had the same job I think he probably had 2 or 3 jobs throughout my whole life. Like we were taught to go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, stay there for the rest of your life, retire, you know what I mean? And so we didn't like where we were, but we didn't really know what else to do next. So we stayed in this transition space where we just didn't really, when you're like, I know I can't be here, but I don't know what there is. And so we kind of stayed there for a while. And I met my sponsor, Cammie, at a small group at church. And so what I love about this story is that we both went to this young marrieds class. I went twice, Brandon and I went twice, and her and Nathan went once. In this young marrieds class, we were like 24 and like seriously young and married. Everyone else was 32 with 3 kids, and they were like young families. So we didn't keep going because we were looking for true young married people. But the week we went was the week they broke into small groups, and Cammie and Nathan were in our small group, which again, I think is just a divine appointment. So needless to say, we were friends with them first. I tried a rap. I went to a 1 Team 1 Mission, which was called a Dr. Don night back then. Dr. Don was there with 20 people in the room. He still threw us some skin. So if you've heard Dr. Don, it's the same presentation I've heard for 10 years. And I became a customer. Brandon started to see the dollar signs. He started to see like a hot sizzle product that nobody knows about. And we upgraded to become distributors 2 weeks later. Now, we don't have a speedy story. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have social media. I had a flip phone. We used MapQuest to get to parties. We didn't have Facebook. We basically called and texted our warm market, asked for referrals, and then blitzed without blitz cards. It took us a year to go diamond, 2 years to go double, 3 years to go triple, 4 years to go presidential, 5 years to go ambassador, and 8 years to go black diamond. And for those of you that don't know, Black Diamond means you've earned an average of 6 figures a month for 6 consecutive months, and they only count your top spot. So I'm ambassador and Brandon's ambassador. We went ambassador within 2 months of each other, but they only count the top spot for Black Diamond. And so we fought for that for 3 years and hit that goal in 2015. And since then, we are working our 2.0 spot. We, are earning fun trips like surf and turf and getting to hang out with amazing leaders like Christy that keep us inspired, focused, and moving. So okay. I have a lot more to my story, but I'll let you talk first.
No. I love it. I just kind of like to let people just go because it's whatever you feel like inspired to say. But I love your guys' story because you like went, and that's kind of how I did. I promoted like once a year, basically. And so I love that so much. And you guys, Black Diamond is like, there's only a couple. There's only literally a handful, less than a handful. And
we like to say there's 2.
Yeah, there's 2. There's 2. One of the 2. You guys, that is huge.
Like, Tammy's corporate now. She doesn't count.
Right. Right. You guys, like, that is huge. 100,000 a month for 6 consecutive months. Like, mind blown. It's so amazing. And I love it. Okay. So we kind of talked about you going over kind of mindset and, just focusing on what you want. And you're so good at that. So I will just kind of let you take it away.
Okay. This is the other part of my story. Okay. So when I talk about our Black Diamond story, I want you to remember that the numbers are not the important thing. Like, don't get caught up in the numbers. Think about your own goal that you are working on right now. So in 2013, they announced Black Diamond. And I remember Cammie and I were like in the front row and there's like streamers coming down, you know what I mean? Like the end of conference. And we're like, we've got this. This is totally in the bag. Like, we are going Black Diamond. And I thought we had it. I really did. I totally thought we had it. And so we're working after conference. We're focused. We're working our business. And I really did think that Black Diamond wouldn't even be that hard. Like, I thought we had it in the bag. And then these fears started popping up, these thoughts. And I started thinking, wouldn't it be funny if we missed Black Diamond by just a few $1,000s? Now, I started thinking 98. 98. Wouldn't that be so funny? And I didn't take the thought captive. I hadn't learned this yet. I just allowed it. So all these fears kept coming in and I just was like, that would be so funny. 98. And I just allowed it. Allowed it to consume me. It was in my thoughts. I would talk about it. Even though in my head, I really thought we were going to go Black Diamond that year, I allowed the fear or those stinking thinking type thoughts to just consume me. And it was not funny when Pam Souter called me on the first day we had 4 months under our belt. In month 5, she called me, which was very kind of her because she didn't wait for checks to post, or we found out ourselves. But she called and she said, just so you know, Denise, you didn't make it. And she said it was 98. And I said, Pam, I've been thinking 98 all month long. And she said, Denise, you did it to yourself. And I was like, bah! Now, how many people cry over a $98,000 check? Remember, it's not the money. Of course, it's the goal because I'm a goal getter. The money just happens because I hit my goals, right? And so, yeah, certainly I was mad. I cried. I mean, think about your first party if nobody shows up. How many of you have set a goal and didn't hit it, right? That was us. So the next year, 2014, I was a bit mad. I don't know what the word is. I was a bit yeah, right. We'll see if that happens. How many of you have set a goal? I'm going ruby or I'm going diamond. And in the back of your head, you have this voice that goes, yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's going to happen. And so 2014, I was like, we're going Black Diamond. But in the back of my head, I was like, we'll see. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? I wanted it, but I didn't believe it. And so I was going through the motions of building my business, but I didn't fully believe that it was going to happen. And so when it didn't happen, guess what I could say? Told ya. Knew it wasn't going to happen anyway. You know what I mean? Like the things we do to ourselves. So in 2015, I knew that in order to get something different, we had to do something different, period. Like we couldn't stay here anymore. We couldn't keep spinning our wheels. And so now I say, it's one of those, like, it's not an accident. Like, I feel like all of this was on purpose, but I didn't know the purpose until later. So every single August here in Grand Rapids, we do a leadership retreat where we have everybody come to the Willow Creek Leadership Summit, which is put on by Willow Creek in Chicago, and it's simulcasted all over the world. And so we have our leaders come, we do team parties, we do stuff at my house. And this specific year, I decided to do a Come As You Will Be party. And so this was 2015. The event is in August. And the Come As You Will Be party is basically when you pretend you come to the party dressed as you will be in 5 or 10 years. So we chose 10 years. We had signs that said, welcome to 2025, come as you will be. We all came dressed as that character. And in order to get ready for this party, I had to do some prep work with my team. Like they were all mad at me for making them do this. Like even Brandon, he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm like, oh no, you're doing it. And he wore a shirt that said just chillin'. So, it's funny. But I had a business card that said it works first triple black diamond as seen on Oprah's Favorite Things and American Ninja Warrior and TED Talks, things like that. And we did Zooms with our team and we would say 30 things I want to do, 30 things I want to be, 30 things I want to have. We would ask ourselves the questions like, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Like over and over again. So we had a page filled with things that we wanted life to look like. We created our ideal day, hour by hour by hour. Like, what do we really want life to look like? Where do we live? How do we feel? Do we have an easy morning? Do we get to work out? How do we spend our days? How are our relationships? Like, we got so specific and clear for the months leading up to this party that I truly believe that was a catalyst in our going Black Diamond that year. So this is 2015. Sorry, this is the good year, 2015. We had 4 months under our belt again, right? Consume us again because it could. Or do we take our thoughts captive and focus on what we want? So month 5 came, this is July, and a new number starts creeping in, and it says 76. 76, 76, 76, 76, 76. I just start seeing it. I don't even know why. Like, I don't even like that number, right? Like, why is this happening? But I just start seeing and feeling 76, 76, 76, 76. But this time, because I've learned through the years, I learned to take my thoughts captive and focus on what I want. So the fear never necessarily went away. The doubt, what will people think? What if it doesn't happen? What will they think if it does happen? What will they think if it doesn't happen? Who's cheering for me? Who's not cheering for me? To be honest, like that year was the most negative personal year I've had my entire life. And like all of those things just like stir up, right? And so we had that choice. And so what happened was Cammie gave me her Black Diamond jersey or coat. And I wore it on every single Zoom we did. We did a Zoom every Monday through Thursday from 8 to 10 for an entire month. Even though like some of those thoughts happened, 76, 76, 76, I would focus on 103, 103, 103, 103, 103, and like over and over and over and over and over again. And so we were at this party. We were at the party. And I get a text from Mark Pentecost. And he says, Denise, you got month 5. And it was 1025. So, okay. We did, I bumped up my number. I said 113, 113, 113, 113, 113, 113. The fear never went away. I think honestly, sometimes we think that the fear or anxiety or the what ifs like can be a sign that we're not supposed to be doing something, when really it just means that we're human and we get to choose. Do we focus on this or do we focus on what we want? And so every single day I had to refocus myself and my attention. I listened to The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale every single day. Every day. It's 30 minutes long. It's free on YouTube every day, every day, every day, every day. While I was taking my boys to school and coming back home. And in that, it's a book he reads. In the book, he says, it's from like the 50s, and it's so relevant. It's crazy. It's called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And he basically says you become what you think about. So in essence, you think about what you want to become and then think about that. So that's what I was doing. Whenever I had any fear popping up, I'd be like, what do I want? 113, 113, 113, 113, 113. And not only was I excited about this goal, but our whole team was rallying behind this goal. I had dreams about hitting Black Diamond. I had some people tell me, my sister called and said, I had a dream your check was 135. And I was like, that would be awesome. And then I had another girl call me and she was like, I had a dream you guys ran for president. And I was like, not going to happen, but thank you. Like, you know what I mean? People were invested in our promotion as well, because obviously their volumes were raising and it was all good. And so it was insane. And what I learned throughout that experience was that the fear is still there, even when you're freaking going Black Diamond. But what happens is that when what you want is so loud that it drowns out any sort of fear, you just don't take it seriously anymore. So any of that stuff that pops up, I realize that's just a part of the game. It doesn't mean anything. What do I really want? And then go after it. We were at the Black Diamond event. I mean, it's so silly. And I started having these guilt feelings, like people are working so hard. Like we're working just as hard as everybody else is working. Like, why did we get to have this honor and not, like all these success and failure, all of it is just, there's a lot, our shopping spree, just feeling guilty for success. And I went for a run the next morning and I remember thinking, all right, I know these feelings are not true. I know that nobody is throwing tomatoes at me through Facebook. Like it's not true. What is true? What do I really want? And I listened to The Strangest Secret again while I was there, and I went for my run. And I came back to the bread and breakfast we were staying at, and I was like stretching and just cooling down or whatever. And I got a text, and the text was from somebody who had just promoted the night before. And she said in her text, she said, just so you know, my family is forever changed because of this business. And even if we make no more money with this company, my husband's been baptized. We are closer. We've paid off debt. Like we are better. So thank you. And I got that text in the midst of all of this. And I was reminded again that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And this is it. This is it. And it was those little reminders throughout all of the journey that keep me focused and moving forward. And what I love about this girl's story is that she works third shift and woke up in the middle of her sleep to text me that right when I needed it. Spreading love or creating community, people's hearts are open and they're feeling like God's love for the first time. Like this is amazing. And I also get to go on a private jet to a private island and go on a crazy shopping spree. Like I just have to accept it all because we're doing what we're supposed to do. So, oh my gosh, I know.
Seriously.
It's amazing. It's all good.
It's so amazing. And you know what? It's kind of just funny because sometimes when people text me those similar things, I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter how much money you make or what rank you're at. We all feel it. we always let those doubts creep in, and we have to like learn how to just shut it out. Like just shut it out, and that's it. But that is absolutely amazing. And I love that. And I love that that is your story, because I relate so much with stories, and that's something that I will remember, you know, like if that creeps in, I'm going to be like, nope, Denise said.
Yeah.
And
Take
I know
that thought captive. So the next year for the Willow Creek retreat, what we did is we had butterflies, and I had, this is a good idea, Christy, if you've ever done this before, but you can have butterflies come in like for a wedding, you know what I mean? And they came in these envelopes, and we did this whole spiel about taking our thoughts captive and renewing of the mind and choosing what you focus on, and this whole thing about that. And then we all let these butterflies go, and it was so beautiful.
that is so awesome. Seriously. I just love your story, because you're so specific too. And I think sometimes we're like, why be specific? Like, why does it matter? I just want to, you know, make a lot of money. But it's so true, you guys, like 100% what you focus on. And if it's not specific, you won't focus on it. You can't tell your mind to go this way if it's not a specific way. Okay. So honestly, I feel like everybody can learn and everybody knows how to actually work the business when they're actually focused on the goal. Just like you said, all the stuff in between is kind of just stuff. But a couple people had some questions. And so if you're okay with it, could you just kind of share your daily routine? I know it's a little bit different, but kind of what you do with enrolling people, and then what you do with your newbies, because people are always worried that they're not launching them correctly, but I feel like people will do it regardless. But can you share what you do?
Absolutely. Have you guys heard of Big Al? Have you guys heard of him? He is a network marketing skills trainer, he likes to call himself. And he had a training in Grand Rapids yesterday, and there were 8 people there. And I was like, you need a better mailing list. But I went and I took a lot of notes. And one of the things that he said that I thought was really interesting is that in 1997 and 1998, in the magazine called Brain Science, they did a study where they studied when people make decisions, like what's going on in their brain when they make decisions. And that's part of our job, is to get people to say yes, right? So we want to help them come to that decision. And basically, the study concluded that people make decisions with zero information. And it's all based on their subconscious, how they feel, experiences they've had in the past, if they think that you are going to lead them to success or not. And so at the end of the day, when we're recruiting people, it's less about the presentation, like the business presentation, and it truly is more about building rapport. So when I'm recruiting somebody, I'll ask them questions. Someone just asked me this on another Zoom. I'll just say, well, tell me what interested you in saying yes, or what interested you in replying to the ad, or whatever it was. Have you ever done something like this before? Are you working now? Do you have any kids? How much are you interested in making a month? Are you willing to do what it takes to make that? Getting to know them and asking them questions gives you then ammo, because basically the idea is that whatever problem they have, we can fix it. Whether if they need to pay off debt, or they just are stressed out, or they don't like their job, or they need more time, like whatever it is, you are saying things like, oh my gosh, this is going to be perfect for you. Oh my gosh, you are going to love this. Oh my gosh, I love working with stay-at-home moms. I love working with teachers. I love working with, and I know for me, some of my key aha moments were when I realized I could do this business, because I was working with Cammie Dempsey. Okay, guys, she's always been this intense. She's always been working like 80. I mean, she's like always just been so focused. Like she would say to me, do you want to do what I do? And I was like, I'm not sure, because you're kind of crazy. Like she's awesome at what she does. She's energizing. Yeah, she's amazing. And I didn't know that I could do that. And so what I realized was the aha moments that I had were when I realized that I could do this and I could rock it out just like she did, but I did it in my way and it didn't feel crazy to me. And so the aha moments that I had in the business were when I realized that I could do it. And so I try to give those aha moments as early as possible. I feel like that's half our job, is to cast whatever problem they tell me they have. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be perfect. This is going to fit right. You can totally do this in 15-minute increments. Oh my gosh, you can totally do this during nap time. And whatever it is, I'm feeding that confidence, right? So then the goal is that when they sign up, we really are just taking them into action quickly. And sometimes even when they're still a prospect, if they're kind of like, I'll say, all right, well, do you have 4 people that would want to be your first customer? Let's start moving. And so I take them into action pretty quickly, meaning their goal is 4 customers, 3 distributors, 4 customers, 3 distributors. We do a virtual party every week, so that can be a fairly easy way to start inviting people quickly. I recommend that they get the wrap on a few people so they can practice and they can see the excitement and the results and get pictures and things like that. And then 3-way calls or a script. So one thing that I do have is I have like a script that I'll say, hey, text this to 10 or 15 people or whoever, and then screenshot the responses and I'll help you go back and forth with them. And what that allows is that if the person says no, they're kind of saying no to me, not them. And that can help in the beginning.
I love that. I never thought of it. I do walk them through their conversations, but I never thought of it like that. Then it's like, no, they're saying no to me. Not you. You weren't talking.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. That was just me.
Right. I love that. So I do very similar, but I love how you ask more questions. Like that is, I feel like, huge. Do you usually get them on the phone or text, or you kind of just ask them what works better?
I do ask them what works better. In the olden days, I was on the phone for, 8 hours, 10 hours a day. I felt like I was talking to leaders and following up with new distributors, following up with leads and talking to leaders like all day long. I don't feel like people want to talk on the phone as much as they used to. So I do a lot of like Facebook voice messaging, and I use that all the time. And maybe I have 2 kids now too, so maybe it's me. I don't know, but I do use Facebook voice messaging a lot. And then when they get signed up, like I have a girl signing up at the end of the month, and I said, when you're ready, let's get on the phone for 15 minutes. Doesn't have to be hours. It can be 15 minutes. I'll walk you through the sign up and train you. Like I want a good conversation with them to build the rapport, and then it can just be Facebook texting or whatever. But I do feel like a good few conversations on the phone at the beginning is helpful.
Yeah, to build that connection. I think that's so true too. Okay, so does anybody else have any other questions? And if not, if you do, just put it in the chat. But Denise, do you have maybe your biggest aha moment or your biggest tip or something you see, like, because I know we have a lot of newbies, but we also have, sorry, sometimes my internet goes crazy, but or something that will push some people that are diamond, double, triple to the next level. I know obviously the vision, but do you have something that you want to leave them with?
I do, but I first want to hear Stacy's question.
Oh, sorry. I didn't get that.
That's all right.
Hey, Denise. Okay, so I know that you're from Grand Rapids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so is Cammie, and the Duns are as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you 3 being like the top 3 leaders, sometimes you hear a lot of the excuse, well, I live in a town where a lot of people are doing it, or, that sort of thing. So what would you say to somebody like that? Or, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I think a few things. It really isn't, we're a global company, so you can build anywhere. You truly, truly can. And it's really not about your next, your neighborhood if you don't want it to be. It can be. You can like a word spreads fast in a small town. A city like Chicago needs a louder voice to make a dent. So if you feel like there are a handful of distributors in a small town, then go to the next small town. No big deal. I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of people turning 18 every day. There's a lot of people losing their jobs every day. Every 6 to 9 months, people go through their own transition, just like I did in my quarter life crisis, where I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore, but I don't know what else to do. Maybe they just had a baby, but 6 months later, they have a 6-month-old and they are sleeping again, things like that. So people are going through. And in terms of vision, so I think that coming from Grand Rapids, Ileana, go ahead. How are you?
Hi, Denise.
Like my new friend. Good.
Okay, so I have a team of a lot of moms, and one of the main questions is like, how can you handle time management, especially being a really busy mom? And of course, like the kid fell and then something happened and then the dog and all these things, right? So a lot of my girls deal with that. Like they just don't know. I told them, of course, the 6 list and all that, and just getting disciplined and really tackling, what your tasks are for the day. But I think one of the main questions people want to know is like, how did you do it at the beginning, with time management?
Yeah. Christy says, put the child in a closet and run away. Or maybe you go into the closet.
Eliana's not a mom yet, so I'm kind of like, kid falls, leave the kid.
I'm not a mom, so I'm like, okay, what do I tell these moms, even though I don't have kids?
So what's interesting about our story is that we quit our jobs before we had kids. So I was working the business. I was working full time. We milked it as long as we could. Like we were working full time and building our business for 3 years. We milked it for a while, but then when we were at work saying we were wasting so much time here at work, we had to quit. And so I didn't have the experience of working full time and working the business and having a family, which is a bit different because now that I do have kids, I know that they can be a full-time job as well. But what I do now is a few things. So this is what I recommend for all of my team to do, is to write down all of the things that you need to do, period, in life. Like house stuff on one list. If you have a job, relationships, your business, anything and everything that you need to do. And then it has to go in a time slot. Like write it all down. And then you either do 2 things. You give it a time or you ask for help. And I know my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I thought that I had to be a superhero. And that until I realized my mom was not building a multi-million-dollar organization. And I had to let go of my view of what the perfect stay-at-home mom does and realize that I'm a work from home mom. And that looks different. And that means we use paper plates sometimes. And that means that I have help with cleaning. I mean, even in our old house, it was $100 to have somebody come clean a month. That's one fast start. So eventually I was able to say, okay, some of these things I'm going to outsource. I'm going to get help with so that I can have brain space. So some of the things get put in a time slot. The other things get outsourced, whether it's asking for help with your husband, if you've got teenagers, if you've got, I hired a cleaning lady that came once a month. Those are the things that can help free you from all of the mental. The other thing is really time batching. So what I find is that if multitasking doesn't really work. So as much as we love to say that we can be at the park we can be at the park and message our prospects and all of that at the same time. I really do try to have a good section, maybe just an hour, whatever you can allow, right? 4 hours if you're full-time, whatever, of really focused, intentional following up. That's how I spend most of my day, is generating leads, following up with my leads, and then getting them in the training system. And so if there's a focused time that you can generate leads, follow up with leads, that can be helpful. I know people that do that in 15-minute increments. So they'll schedule their alarm, and 4 times a day for 15 minutes, they're like blinders on, no distractions for 15 minutes, because you can get so much done when you're doing it single-mindedly rather than split attention. But if it's not